Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ireland, Norway and Spain have announced they will formally recognise a Palestinian state from the 28th of May.
Del sentir mayoritario del pueblo español, el próximo martes.
Spain and Ireland said the decision was not against Israel nor in favour of Hamas, but rather in support of peace. Israel has reacted angrily, warning the move would mean more instability in the region and recalling its ambassadors to all three countries. Both Hamas and its rival, the Palestinian Authority, have welcomed the recognition. Norway was first to make its announcement in a move coordinated with the other two countries.
Today, we use the same language to support the recognition of Palestine as a state. We do so because we believe in freedom and justice as the fundamental principles of international law, and because we believe that permanent peace can only be secured upon the basis of the free will.
Meanwhile, the UN says food distribution in the southern Gazan city of Rafah has been suspended due to a lack of supplies and insecurity. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, warned its distribution centre and a World Food Programme warehouse were now inaccessible because of the ongoing Israeli military operation against Hamas in eastern Rafah. At least 815,000 of the more than 1 million people taking refuge in Rafah have fled since the Israeli operation began 2 weeks ago. The news came as the US said it did not believe any of the aid that had entered northern Gaza through a newly completed floating pier had been distributed to Palestinians by humanitarian organisations. Iran's supreme leader has presided over a funeral for the country's late president, foreign minister and others killed in a helicopter crash on Sunday. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei led prayers at Tehran University, where caskets carrying the dead were draped in Iranian flags. President Ebrahim Raisi died alongside Iran's foreign minister and 6 others in a helicopter crash near the border with Azerbaijan. Authorities had warned against demonstrations against the funeral procession and insults posted online. Iran's acting president, Mohammad Mokhber, stood nearby and openly wept during the service. A tornado has killed multiple people in a small Iowa town as powerful storms swept through the Midwest of the USA.
We're gonna miss the right side. Debris coming down!
Homes and businesses in Greenfield were destroyed, cars smashed and debris strewn across the landscape. Iowa police confirmed the fatalities at a news briefing, but were unable to say how many. Nebraska, Illinois and Wisconsin were also hit by tornadoes, heavy rain and power cuts. Video footage showing the devastation across Iowa depicted flattened buildings, overturned cars and broken wind turbines. Passengers on a flight heading from London to Singapore have recounted scenes of absolute terror, with one passenger saying he saw a woman with an awful gash to her head and another screaming in agony. More than 140 travellers and crew members who were on board the flight hit by severe turbulence landed in Singapore on a relief flight earlier this morning. A 73-year-old British man, Jeff Kitchen, died from a suspected heart attack on board, while several others remain seriously injured. The Singapore-bound Boeing plane diverted to Bangkok following the mid-air incident. And a single feather of the now extinct New Zealand Hoya bird has set a world record after being sold for 46,000 New Zealand dollars at auction. Sold! The Hoya bird was sacred to the Maori people. Their feathers were often worn as headpieces by chiefs and their families, and also gifted or traded. Its last confirmed sighting was back in 1907, but unconfirmed sightings were reported for 20 to 30 years after that. The feather, initially expected to fetch up to 3,000 New Zealand dollars, broke the previous record, which was for a feather of the same species, by 450%. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.